Welcome to the JP8 report. This is James Pierce with the JP8 report, episode 422. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the JP8 report. Hope everybody's doing fine. And if you were watching me on the morning brief this morning, an hour ago, welcome back. And I appreciate that. Appreciate the loyalty. All right. And so, like I say every day, and we got to say it, right? If you're watching this and you're not already a follower of the JP8 report, please, right beside where it says in the red lettering, the red button says join, right to the right of it, there's a bell. Click on the bell, scroll down to the bottom, you see the word follow. Click the word follow, and you'll follow the podcast. And then over where the thumbs up button is, like this, click it, give me a thumbs up. I appreciate that, okay? And I hope everybody's having a great day. If you want to chat with me, the live chat is open. Hopefully, Covite for Life joins in with us. Let's just have some fun. I know yesterday was an intriguing night. You know, the title of the podcast, that's serious stuff there. We got to really, really be aware of it. We'll go into that after we get through the Iran update. So last night, my wife and I watched on Fox Nation, and Fox Nation's not supporting this part. Nobody is, but that's all right. So we watched on Fox Nation last night Kelsey Grammer's The Patriot War, right? I think it's called The Patriot War or The Patriots War. And there was 3 episodes on it last night. And there's supposed to be a six-part thing. But last night we watched George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Alexander Hamilton. I'm telling you, if you can get on Fox 1 or Fox Nation and watch them, they're worth your time. They're like 30 minutes a piece. Matter of fact, I was just telling my wife a couple of days ago, and I know I said this morning. We were talking about the Thomas Hickey plot against George Washington, right? And lo and behold, and I've never seen the show because it's been out since it came out on the 21st of June. In about 10 minutes of the one about George Washington dealt with Thomas Hickey. Unbelievable. And, Thomas Hickey was a British turncoat that he actually was plotting to assassinate George Washington, him and several other members of the George Washington's personal guard, all right? And that's what we're going to go over with in just a second. But also I wanted to tell you that President Trump is having lunch today with the Senate leadership, with not the Senate leadership, the Senate caucus, right? But John Thune didn't invite the president for lunch with them. Senator Rick Scott did. So John Thune got blindsided. Now the president's going to be at the lunch with all the Republicans, and they will be talking about the Save America Act. All right. So America 250. On this day, 1776, General Washington was notified of the Thomas Hickey plot. It was so serious that he was court-martialed, and I think 2 days from now, I think it was on the 26th of June, that they actually publicly hung him as an execution to demonstrate to others what will happen if you make an attempt on the life of the commanding general. And normally, from what they were talking about last night on the show, was that it all correlates together. Was that George Washington was a disciplinarian, but he wasn't that harsh, right? But in this instance, he had to make an example, and he was hung in New York City for everybody to see. So, yeah, George Washington was officially notified of the Thomas Hickey plot, and it was not only him, it was several other officers that were in his inner circle, right? Also, Pennsylvania passed our own resolution to break formally from England, and it is only 10 days away from the Declaration of Independence. And just to let you know right now, on July 4th, I know it's a Saturday, I will be doing a podcast on that day because I'm going to read the Declaration of Independence, all right? On air, live, all right? All right, so that being said, we go to the armament shop. Whether you're looking for your first firearm, upgrading your setup, or need expert service, Jason at the armament shop is Copper's Cove's premier source for all things shooting. Browse our wide selection of pistols, rifles, and shotguns, backed by top-tier gunsmithing for repairs, along with reloading supplies and professional cleaning to keep your firearm in peak condition. Need a transfer? We make FFL transfers fast, easy, and affordable. Need your CHL? Jason can handle those classes both in person and online. He has over 3 decades of experience. Visit the armament shop today on 115A West Avenue D in Coppers Cove, or call or text 254-560-2023, or visit them at www.armamentshop.com. That's www.armamentshop.com. The Armament Shop, your safety, our priority. All right, I'm back. All right, so that was crazy about that program we watched last time. Remember, it's called The Patriots War. It's on Fox Nation. All right, and if you are on DirecTV, I do know we get Fox Nation. We get Fox One for free because it's part of our subscription through DirecTV. It's free because believe it or not, DirecTV gives you all kinds of. We got HBO Max. We got ESPN stuff. We got Fox One. But that's all in Paramount. That's all included in DirecTV. But that's how we got to Fox Nation, and we watched that last night. It's worth it. Go for it. All right. Even if you have to stand alone and subscribe to it to watch it, it's worth it. All right. So enough for the advertising, right, guys? All right. So here we go. The Iran update. Israel and Hezbollah, they exchanged fire for the first time in 3 days. NATO's Secretary General completely backs President Trump. Oil prices continue to fall. Israel smuggles Starlink modems into Iran. That's big. Oman launches temporary passage through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran pushes back on U.S. claims of controlling Iranian assets. Macron, I forgot to put the C in there. Macron pledges international leaders to bolster Lebanese ceasefire. And just because you know, Great Britain before 1947, I think it was. So Israel, or what do they call it? Whatever they call the area where Israel was a protectorate from Great Britain, and Lebanon was a protectorate under France. Okay, just so you know. Trump says Iran's economy is crushed. Hezbollah vows Israel will not retain a single inch of territory inside of Lebanon. Per Iran, missiles not part of the deal. Trump says inspectors will be in Iran at the appropriate time. Iran's war costs right now from us, our military, is standing right now about $80 billion. And they're planning to do a third reconciliation bill to supplement the Pentagon's budget. Okay. The Dow yesterday closed down 45.87 at 51,666.84. West Texas Intermediate oil is trading right now at $71.13 a barrel, and Brent crude oil is at $74.83 a barrel. Now, to go with that, also yesterday the president told uh, petroleum companies that if they're caught uh, price gouging, because he said the price of oil should be down lower than it already is. He said if you get caught price gouging, you will pay a dear price. All right. All right. So elections yesterday in South Carolina. Alan Wilson trounced Pat Evatt last night. She only got 32% of the vote, and he got 68% of the vote. So Alan Wilson will be the Republican nominee for the governor of South Carolina. All right. And he congratulated her. He had a momentum by him. Both of them are going to be they were really good candidates for governor, and he will do just fine. And uh, he's a really good politician. All right. I don't even know who his running mate is, but that happened all at the last second. So the next four races I'm talking about, they're all Democrat races. And you know my feelings toward Democrats. I don't like to talk about them unless they're doing something stupid. Well, kind of this is stupid. One's congratulatory, right? But Mamdani endorsed three socialists or communists, however you want to call them. They're about the same type of person in congressional races last night. He in all three won. So Valdez, she beat Reynoso 56-36. Brett Lander, uh, Brett Lander won his race against Dan Goldman 66-34. Now, Dan Goldman is a two-term congressman. He's a very, 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 I say very, again, very liberal TDS politician. It could not stand President Trump. Matter of fact, he was one of the impeachment lawyers that helped try to prosecute the president, but he got beat by another communist last night, 66-34. And I'll talk about that stuff in just a minute. And then Chevrolet, is that her name? She defeated Espilot 49-46%. Now, he was also a sitting member of the House of Representatives in Congress, and he was the chairman of the Hispanic Caucus, and he got beat. Two prominent members of the House of Representatives went down in flames last night. Jerry Nadler over in New York 12, he's retiring from Congress, so they had an 8-way contest for his seat, right? Brett Lasher, he was the favorite for the race. Jerry Nadler and Kathy Hochul both endorsed him. He actually won with 39% of the vote last night. And Boras came in second. And JFK's grandson, John Schlosserberg, or Joe Schlosserberg, I think it is, finished at 11%. And the only reason why I'm talking about this congressional primary race right here, because the person that fell further on down got 6.1% of the vote in that primary was George Conway. You may be asking, James, who's George Conway and why do we care? Well, George Conway formed the Lincoln Project, right? Along with some other people, right? He's a blatant TDS person, worse than Chris Christie, okay? And he used to be married to Kellyanne Conway, the political consultant that the president really values her guidance, right? He, for months and months and months, railed against President Trump before the 2020 election, right? So evidently, a few months ago, he decided he was no longer a Republican, which we all kind of figured, right? He's not a rhino, he's a sub-rhino. But he actually decided he's going to run for Congress. and he thought he had an excellent chance of winning said congressional seat in New York City. Well, he got trounced. Okay, now he can go to the beach with Chris Christie and they can bask in the sun and get lobster red and just waste oxygen for the rest of their lives because he is politically dead to everything now. So I'm glad George Conway lost. I'm glad Brett Lasher beat him. I don't want Brett Lasher to win in November. I don't even think there's a Republican running in that seat for that seat. But George Conway got beat last night like a pulp. All right, man, like an apple tree falling to the ground. Get it, New York apple. Okay, all right. So all that's done. Let's see. We already talked about that. Hold on just a second. Let me get something to drink. As I'm drinking my tea, don't forget, click that like button and give me a follow. And there's my cup, 1776. Man, can you believe we're only 10 days away from the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence? That's awesome. All right. So before we get to the rest of the political stuff, I got to tell you about a legislative win for the president. So today, he's signing a bill, bipartisan, right? That he supported, that he recommended, and it went before the House and passed the House, and went to the Senate. The Senate passed it. The Senate passed it 85-5. There were some minor changes in the wording. It had to go back to the House of Representatives, and yesterday they passed it at 358-32. This thing is actually veto-proof. The Democrats and the Republicans actually agreed for something that's good for the country, and it's going to the president to get signed, that the president recommended, that the Democrats actually voted for. Now, 32 Republicans voted against it because they were protesting because the Save America Act had not been passed yet. That was the only reason why they voted against it. But this is awesome. So it's called the Bipartisan Housing Act. President Trump scored a major legislative win after Congress cleared a sweeping housing bill aimed at expanding the nation's supply of homes and lowering costs. Lawmakers voted 358-32 in an overwhelming bipartisan vote Tuesday to approve the Senate-passed measure, with opposition coming solely from Republicans. Every Democrat present voted for the package. It's called the 21st Century Road to Housing Act, one of the most significant housing bills approved by Congress in decades. It largely incorporates President Trump's proposal to ban large institutional investors from purchasing single-family homes, a measure designed to help individual buyers compete with private equity firms. Because, I'll give you for an example. One of my daughters lives in Louisville, Kentucky. And while we were up there visiting her a couple of years ago, we ran across this one guy that has, I think he said he got 6 or 7 homes, and he's trying to make some Airbnbs like what we were staying at. And he was saying that there was a company, and I don't think it was BlackRock, but it was something like close to it. But they went in and bought like 150 homes that were abandoned in the Louisville area, and made them available for rent. Right? And you might, yeah, that's pretty cool. But what they did, they raised the value of homes so high that people couldn't afford to buy houses, and it caused rents to go up. And that's what it does to neighborhoods, right? So the president caught wind of stuff like this, and this is what they were going on. It would also streamline federal environmental reviews for housing, loosening regulations around the construction of factory-built homes, and incentivize local governments to reform their zoning laws to allow for more home building among its more than 45 provisions. The other sections would allocate federal grants to municipalities with a track record of constructing new homes and create a pilot program to help communities redevelop vacant properties. That would be like Detroit. They have a problem with that. Uh, the package focuses on a simple ideal of building more homes, which means lower costs and more expanded opportunities for all Americans. Mike Herodopoulos, he's a Republican from Florida, said, the president is expected to promptly sign the measure into law as soon as Wednesday. Tuesday's vote comes as home prices surged in recent years, with the median national price tag topping $400,000 and the median asking rent $1,760, representing an increase of 34% and 17.9%, respectively, since 2019, according to analysis from Realtor.com. Now, that $400,000 mark is on the money. That I heard that yesterday from Dave Ramsey. He was being interviewed on TV, but he said that's the median, right? The average cost of a startup home for people to move into is $199,000. That's what he was saying yesterday. All right, so it's still there. If you're gonna like he said, if you're moving to San Jose, California, you're gonna find $1 million homes. If you move to Coppers Cove, Texas, you're gonna probably find $150,000 homes, maybe a little bit less. It all depends on where you want to live and how much money you can afford to spend on a house. But that is really, really good news. And it's called the 21st Century Road to Housing Act. Okay. Now, you won't get stuff like this if socialists are in charge. So that's what we're going to talk about next. Okay. Hassan Piker, the piece of trash, good for nothing. The only thing he's doing is he's dividing our country even more. I don't know how the guy gets 10 million listeners to his podcast. I struggle to get the ones I get for this one. And this guy gets 10 million a day. I mean, that's what they say. I'd like to see the podcast ratings for that. But 10 million. He's a blatant. This guy was born in New Jersey. His parents left for for Turkey, in Istanbul. That's where Constantinople used to be, okay, in Byzantine. But it's Istanbul, right? And he moved back to the United States. He's wealthy. He has lots of money. And all he wants to do is be a communist. That's all he wants to do. But he was quoted yesterday. It says, prominent progressives took to social media on Tuesday night to celebrate a slate of socialist candidates. Leftist influencer Hassan Piker, I even hate talking about the guy, posted a jubilant all-caps message on X, writing, and then if you have him on your X, I apologize. I hope it's just for research, right? But he's quoted said, "Ayo," which I don't know if you know what AYO means. All right, chat this, okay? I have no idea what AYO means. Okay, matter of fact, I'm going to type in her AYO question mark. Somebody tell me what that means, please, okay? Said AYO, New York, can you feel the specter haunting the nation? Socialism is coming to your neighborhood too. That's where I got the title of the podcast. This is serious junk. Like I keep saying, I served 25 years plus in the Army, between the Army Reserve and then the regular Army, to serve, to fight for our country against socialists and communists and Islamists, right? This is serious. If these guys are absolutely, okay, Current Affairs Editor-in-Chief Nathan Robinson posted unequivocally, socialism is on the march. Former Democrat representative, he's the guy that pulled the fire alarm in the House of Representatives, Jamal Bowman. He was videoed at a DSA congressional candidate, Chevrolet, or delayed won last night in the 13th congressional district of New York. He said, is socialism in this MF house, really? And people cheered him for saying it. We got multiple people in the major cities of the country. You have people in Seattle. You have people in Minneapolis and St. Paul. You got people in Washington, D.C. You got people all over New York. You got a candidate in Austin, I believe, that's DSA. It's just spreading like a plague, right? It has to be dealt with. These people, I was telling my daughter yesterday, okay, which I don't know if she was listening. I'm pretty sure she was listening, all right? But, you get enough people to take over our house, our government, okay? If they were somehow able to get a leftist that believed with them, a lot of this stuff that they want to do is unconstitutional. But if you get enough people into the states and into the government in D.C., they could actually call for a convention of states. You only need 38 states, and they could physically rewrite our Constitution, the thing we swore to uphold and defend, and rewrite it with the convention of states and completely change the concept of our country to where we would no longer recognize what was going on. That could happen. That could happen. I'm surprised they didn't do it back in the 1930s when FDR was president. All right, but though that is serious stuff. Well, hold on, give me a second here. So, another DSA congressional candidate endorsed by Zoan with Claire Valdez. She won 56% to 36%, said in her victory speech, "Tonight, we haven't just won an election. We have declared this movement is durable, that it is growing, and it will not stop until working people are no longer asked to just build a table, but will run the table." These are the types of people that we're dealing with. This is why across the country, Republicans need to stop squabbling with each other, bury their butthurt politics, and do something. There was a poll on the Texas scorecard this morning showing that the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the AG positions, those are the major ones, are winning their elections right now in the poll. And it's poll, it's a grain of salt, right? But they're polling at 5 to 7% victorious right now. Ken Paxton is beating Telefrico 43 to 42%. That means that's 15% undecided, right? But right now he's polling up over Telefrico, which yesterday a video was released on him saying he's a Christian, but he hates Christianity. How do you even do that? What is the purpose of being a Christian if you hate Christianity? He's the guy that says there's six genders, and that God is non-binary, and he supports BLM and all this other junk, gay rights and everything. What are we doing with our country? Could you imagine someone like that being elected to the United States Senate? Man, what are we doing? What are we doing? All right. Next is the same concept, right? 7 Democratic incumbents lost their primary elections in New York on Tuesday, as Mamdani appeared to successfully showcase his inter-party influence. Among ousted Democrats were 5 state lawmakers and 2 congressmen. In addition to successfully ousting Dan Goldman and Adriano Espiliot, his endorsed candidate also won the primary for the 7th district, defeating the chosen successor of retiring Nydia Velasquez. And it said, I despise Mamdani, but he has shown himself to be an incredibly formidable politician. Underestimate him at your peril. Claremont Institute senior fellow Jeremy Carl said of the election results. He endorsed 2 congressional incumbents against 2 congressional incumbents in high-risk races, and looks like he's going to win both of them with Lander and Chevalier. But his third outsider endorsement of Velez also won easily. The socialist newcomers are generally young, skeptical of corporate influence, and hostile towards Israel and open advocates of socialism. While the Mamdani-backed candidates were successful on election night, there are signs they could attract negative media attention and cause a headache for national Democrats. Chevalier, for instance, has come under fire for past media posts where she called for abolishing borders, defunding the police, and their criticism of interracial relationships. She said the same stuff again last night at her victory party. So what gives? What gives is we have candidates out there. We have Republicans. I feel sorry for what happened to Espiliot and Goldman, even though I don't agree with their politics, not one bit. They were beat by communists, flat out, flaming communists, right? Espiliot was he was the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, right? And Goldman is a Jew. There are like 4.3% of the population, I think it is, of New York City is Jewish. Why in the world would a Jewish person vote for anyone even remotely acquainted with these people? Because they are blatantly anti-Semitic in everything, even funding. They were talking about the AIPAC, the American Israel Political Action Committee. Man, they were freely supporting Palestine, the Hamas, and what they did on October 7th. Stupid stuff. But we let it happen. We actually let things like that happen in our country. We put blinders on. We just want to take our kids to soccer practice, go out to eat, go to work, go home, and watch TV and do nothing. For me, I'll tell you right now, no one's answered that question yet, okay? I put a question on there. If you know what AYO means, I have no idea. Ask your opinion? No, that can't be. I don't know. If you know what AYO in relationship to what Hassan Piker was quoted last night saying, please give us an answer what that means, all right? But look, I'm an elected precinct chair with the Coryell County Republican Party in Central Texas. I used to be on the city council. I used to be a trustee on the local college. I'm involved with the Coryell County Republican Party. I'm involved with the West Side Conservative Coalition. And I helped found the Coppers Cove Conservative Club. We need more small groups like that around our country. We need to get engaged and we need to stay engaged. You should not be afraid to talk your politics. And we should let people say, well, We don't talk about that around here. Well, you have to, or the wrong people are going to keep winning elections. We got a guy here in our city that's that it's a open secret that he's going to run for mayor in 2 years, and he's a leftist Democrat. He is. And if people are like, well, it's nonpartisan, I don't want to get involved. It is partisan. Just because you don't have a D and an R beside your name, or an I or a G or DSA or whatever, it's still partisan. Your politics will follow you in a nonpartisan race. It will. So why not interdict it? We need to change our election recording laws. Who's uh, who's funding these people for these races? Is it Roy Neville Singham? Neville Roy Singham? He may not be able to because he's in China, but he's an American citizen, so his money is good anywhere, right? Is it George Soros? Is he doing it? Is it, hold on just a second. Is it, what is their name? Nothing says eat the rich like paying for the knives and the forks. A hedge fund billionaire and his art Grupal wife are pumping millions into socialist think tanks, positioned to help New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani achieve his DSA-backed workers' paradise. The pair is on a mission to punish landlords and railroad the more New Yorkers into government housing, the Post has learned. From their $20 million Upper East Side townhouse and their 10-bedroom, 9-bathroom, 10,000 square foot Hamptons McMansion, Bobby and Corolla Jain, Jain, write checks funding Mamdani linked intelligentsia paid to create models of how far left concepts like universal basic income and demonetization of the housing network market would work. These people are providing money for these candidates to win, right? It's kind of like anti-capitalist thinking that some economists throwing up their hands. It must be one of those cults where you have to show that you're a member by mouthing absurd emperor's clothes nonsense. Uh, John Cochrane, an economist with Stanford, told the Post, 16th century Grand Duke of Tuscany, Cosimo I de' Medici, supported art because he's worried about getting into heaven as a rich man, which it's hard for a rich man to get to heaven like a camel going through the eye of a needle, right? I wish our guilty billionaires would support great classical art instead of stupid social causes, he said. These are people that we're dealing with, right? The Janes, the Soroses, the Singhams, people like that are throwing money aside, like Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg with his Zuckbuck or whatever you call him, right? That's unbelievable stuff that's going on in our country. But then at the same time, you have Republicans. Let's go on the other side of the coin, right? Flip the coin. Wish I had a coin in there, I would have flipped it, right? But look at it like this. Besides Elon Musk, how many different Republicans are out there continuously funding uh, candidates after the primaries, right? Lots of times you'll have candidates that get supported by PACs and stuff during the primaries, and everything dries up afterward, right? And they got to struggle to get enough money to get through a campaign, unless it's really, really tight, and they'll throw millions. Like this race down in Texas is going to cost probably about $120 million. That's between Paxton and Telefrico, right? But who's willing to contribute to Republicans in city council races, in school board races, in college races, right? That's where you got to be careful, because that's how some of these people actually get their start, is by running in these commissions like PNC, Board of Adjustments, uh, Quality of Life, Parks and Rec, Charter Committee, Cemetery Committee, committees like that, right? And they jump in there and get some experience, and then they run in there and get elected to office. And you know, sometimes they have candidates. Sometimes we just had two guys on our city council. Luckily, they were Republican. They didn't have any candidates, and they automatically got elected. They got lucky, right? We have two Republicans stepping down on our city council in November because of term limits. Who's going to run in those places? We couldn't even get anyone to run for office against Hale and Treadway, which we're glad we didn't. We didn't open it up, but no one ran against them. Normally, you get people to run, multiple people to run for office. Who's going to run in those seats right there? You have to be prepared to stand your ground to win, no matter what, right? Uh, so let's get off this subject, okay? I've been talking for 42 minutes, right? All right. So Monday, Supreme Court struck down Orwell. Yesterday, the Supreme Court issued an opinion that struck down this one inmate from Louisiana, his case that was before the Supreme Court, because he said he was a Nazarite and couldn't cut his hair for 20 years, and took it to court because Louisiana warden officials or prison officials said, yeah, you're going to cut your hair. And he said, no, I'm not. It's a religious case, and I'm going to sue you. Went back and forth, went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court pretty much said, you got to cut your hair. All right. So the Supreme Court on Tuesday ruled against a Rastafarian who sued Louisiana prison officials for cutting his dreadlocks. Damon Landor, who had taken what's known as a Nazarite vow and not cut his hair for 20 years, he is serving a 5-month sentence on a drug charge at Raymond Labrador Correctional Center. In 2020, officers handcuffed him to a chair and shaved his head. He had previously shown to officers a copy of a binding court ruling they deemed cutting a Rastafarian's dreadlocks to be a violation of religious beliefs. The court ruled 6-3. Take a wild bet who the three were, okay? That Landor cannot seek damages under the Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act, which applies to local prisons that accept federal funding. Writing for the majority, Justice Neil Gorsuch said that the act does not allow for claims against individual officials. The act would only apply, Gorsuch wrote, if officials had consented to face liability under federal law, but they did not. Mr. Landor's case cannot proceed against them any more than a breach of contract action might proceed against a defendant who never formed a contract. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson argued in her dissent that the purpose of the act is to protect prisoners housed in state and local facilities. Prisoners like Landor who suffer violations of the religious freedom in state prisons, no matter how blatant, will often be left remediless, she wrote. Regardless, they cut his hair and they weren't in the wrong. And he tried to say they were in the wrong and they got ruled against them. So hair probably look better with it gone and in dreadlocks, okay? A Nazarite vow? Who in the world does a Nazarite vow anyway, right? All right. So, next thing. So President Trump won an immigration ruling yesterday through the D.C. Court of Appeals. The ruling was 2-1 against a Biden judge. So what would happen was that this district court said that people that had been left, that was discovered to be in the country less than 2 years and couldn't prove it, could not be deported. And that case was appealed from the government to the appeals court because they said, yes, they can. So, and 2 of the judges were Trump judges, and 1 of the judges was a Biden judge. All right, so here we go. Trump administration scored a major immigration win on Monday after federal appeals court revived the nationwide expedited removal policy, clearing the way for the Department of Homeland Security to resume fast-track deportations of eligible illegal immigrants. The ruling follows federal immigration authorities to quickly remove certain migrants found anywhere in the country if it did not fully admitted or paroled into the United States and cannot show they continuously lived in the country for at least 2 years. How do you prove that? If you have a job, you can't show a pay stub because then that employer would be in trouble for employing an illegal alien, right? DHS hereby exercises its discretions to apply its expedited removal authority to the maximum extent followed by the law, Judge Walker wrote for the court. And DHS praised the ruling. We're at 847. All right. So people, if you've been in the country for 2 years, less than 2 years, and you can't prove it, you're going home. Okay, flat out. I didn't make it to this morning during the morning brief, but last year, 8 people were protesting in Alvarado, Texas, against whether they were Antifa. They were protesting against, what do you call it, ICE, right? And they shot an ICE officer, right? They were sentenced yesterday in court. Total, they got about 450 years in prison. There are ramifications for breaking law, especially here in Texas. 8 protesters whom the Justice Department accused of having ties to Antifa were sentenced Tuesday to decades in federal prison in connection to a shooting last year outside of a federal immigration detention center in Texas. Judge Reed O'Connor, who was one of the 2 judges overseeing the trial, said the demonstration wasn't a protest, but an assault on democracy. He said the need to deter the type of behavior seen at the protests is high. One of the 8 protesters, Benjamin Song, who was a former U.S. Marine Corps reservist, was convicted of firing a gun during the July 4th, 2025 demonstration and wounded a police officer. He was sentenced to 100 years in prison. Another defendant, Daniel Estrada, was convicted of corruptly concealing a document and conspiracy to conceal documents. Others pled guilty to providing material support to terrorists rather than take their case to trial. They were smart, right? The other defendants received prison terms of 30 years to 70 years. These people are going away for a while. All right. The rally to America starts, I believe, tomorrow. It starts on the Wednesday, the 24th, the day. The day is the start of the Rally of America. All right, that's a celebration leading up to the Declaration of Independence. All 50 states are invited, plus 10 I think 10 territories. I thought I read it. There's 10 territories. Uh, Vanilla Ice is the only person that's going to actually be performing live, um, because everybody else was chicken, and didn't want to participate. They thought they were going to lose listeners at their concerts and venues and stuff. So be it. Let them take a hike. All right. Uh, it runs actually from tomorrow through July 10th. So the whole fair will be set up and they're even gonna have a Ferris wheel. Is a Ferris wheel the one that goes like this or like this? I'm talking about the one that goes like this, a vertical. Okay, they're even gonna have one of them on the fairgrounds in DC. All right, Lee Greenwood's gonna be there. Christopher Machicho is going to be there, um, and Vanilla Ice. All right, so that's pretty cool. 8:51. We're doing pretty good. This is the one. This is the cool thing right here. This is happening. This one will go to the Supreme Court if it makes it through Congress. President Donald Trump told a Pennsylvania crowd yesterday that his administration is working with national right to carry legislation that would protect gun rights for many Americans. I said that right. Like, we have constitutional carry here in Texas. The president made a comment during a speech at a Mack truck event in Pennsylvania where he touted his economic agenda. Trump has previously expressed support for gun rights legislation. Trump recognized that NRA President Bill Baichenberg during the rally, thanking the group for endorsing him in recent presidential elections. They always give me their endorsement because I saved the Second Amendment. If you think it's easy, it's was not that easy. If you think it's a fantastic job, the NRA every day, they really have been, and they've been with me right on. The president claimed Bockenberg had previously asked him about his stance on national right to carry legislation and then polled the Pennsylvania audience on their view of it. When the audience cheered, Trump promised national right to carry. Yeah, we're working on it. Trump did not indicate whether the administration is working with Congress on a new bill or working to get one of the current gun rights bills passed. And Utah Senator Mike Lee introduced the National Constitutional Carry Act earlier this year, which would eliminate concealed carry permit requirements nationwide for eligible Americans. South Carolina Congressman Richard Hudson introduced the same thing last year. The founders established a national. Wow, that means all they have to do really is do a conference, merge the two bills, and go straight to the president. Wow. If it passes their prospective chambers. Wow, that's cool. All right. I'm all for it. I have a license to carry, but in Texas, we also have, what do you call it, constitutional carry. So we don't even need to carry our actual license with us. Camp Mystic files for bankruptcy almost a year after dozens killed in devastating Texas floods. The Texas camp where 28 people, including 25 young girls, died in a catastrophic flash flood last July, has declared bankruptcy, mounting debts over $10 million, per the New York Times. That was devastating a year ago next week that actually happened. And people were praying for a while for that. And it's tragic that happened. And it's also tragic they had to file for bankruptcy too. Okay, so there's another hearing in the Senate that's going to happen today, and that's about all I'm going to be able to do for this. Um, Protecting U.S. citizenship will be the subject of a congressional hearing Wednesday, less than 2 weeks before Americans celebrate the 250th anniversary. The U.S. Senate Committee on Judiciary Subcommittee on the Constitution will hold a hearing at the Dirksen Senate Office Building. The Senate comes after lawmakers continue debating issues around citizenship, immigration policy, national security. The hearing will be chaired by Senator Eric Schmidt and Senator Peter Welch. He's the Democrats' ranking member. The hearing is expected to combine many of the themes that have emerged in previous constitutional immigration hearings, examining topics range from naturalized citizenship to ongoing immigration policy debates to oversight of immigration-related issues during the past hearings. On his first day in office, President Trump signed an executive order, seeking to deny automatic U.S. citizenship to babies born on American soil to parents who are not either U.S. citizens or lawful residents. Those are called, oh man, I forgot the term. But the executive order was challenged in the courts by Trump versus Barber case, and the Supreme Court probably will rule on that tomorrow. So we'll see. All right. 8:57. All right. So with that being said, remember, get involved and stay involved in Republican politics. Remember, most Republicans are Democrats, but no Democrats are Republicans. Okay? Remember that. Dan Bongino says that, right? Campaigns are about snapshots and sound bites. You got to get out there and make a point. All right. So we got 4 things going on in Central Texas by next Tuesday. All right. So what we have, the first thing is tomorrow. Tomorrow evening in Gatesville is Pints and Politics. Okay. Texas deserves good governance. That's right. It starts at 6 p.m. at Rancher Steakhouse off of 36 and 84. Okay. It starts at 6 p.m. All right. I go there a lot, almost all the time. Okay. The next thing. All right. 2 days later, Saturday morning at 11 a.m., is Coryell County Republican women. Men and women can go there. Be a member. It costs $35 for women and only $20 for men because they're associate members. They don't get voting rights. All right. They're going to have, it's going to be at the feed mill on North 6th Street. Caitlin Ross is going to be talking about transparency and data centers. So at the feed mill, Saturday at 11 a.m. All right. Next is, I'm running out of time here. And Dan Bongino's coming up really fast. And then next is Monday at 6 p.m. in Harker Heights is West Side Conservative Coalition at Papa's Cafe in Miller's Crossing, 6 p.m. The conglomerate of conservative organizations that want to further conservatism in our local areas, right? And then on Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. is the Coryell County Republican Party organizational meeting that's required by law. It's after the state convention. It's going to be at Trinity Worship Center at 6 p.m. All right. Be there if you want. It's really good. And we're going to go over our bylaws also. All right. We got to do this once every 2 years, or if we change party chairs, right? All right. So thank y'all very much for tuning in. I will see y'all tomorrow morning at 6:30 Central for the morning brief, and then 8 a.m. Central for the JP8 report. Hope everybody has a great day. 9 a.m. I'm going to do the raid. There we go. I will see y'all tomorrow morning. I will catch you on the flip side. This is James Pierce with the JP8 report. I'm out.